another hormone secreted by the cortex region of adrenal medulla. Here the zona fasciculata cells that secrete the glucocorticoids. Here the glucocorticoids, the main glucocorticoids are the cortisol or hydrocortisone that constitute the 95% of the total activity of the glucocorticoids, and this hormone is more potent. Then the corticosterone is the less potent hormone that showing the 4% of the glucocorticoids activities. Then that is cortisone is showing the activity, that is 1% of activity, and that is secrete the small or minute quantity. The half-life of the cortisol or hydrocortisone is 80 to 19 minutes, but the corticosterone, the half-life is that is only 15 minutes. The cortisone, that is a hormone's half-life is not well known. Here the cortisone is a life-saving cortisol is a life-protecting hormone, but in the case of aldosterone is a life-saving hormone, whereas cortisol is a life-protecting hormone, because this hormone had to help the body to withstand the condition like stress and trauma. That is an importance of the glucocorticoids. Then how the glucocorticoids influence the carbohydrate metabolism means, here the glucocorticoids that increase the blood glucose level by two ways. The first one is that is increase the gluconeogenesis. That means the glucose is formed from the amino acid. How the amino acid is obtained in the liver cells means there's non-hepatic cells that hasten the breakdown of the proteins, thereby the releasing of amino acid. This amino acid is enter into the blood. From the blood it may finally entered into the liver. From the liver it produce the glucose, that by the gluconeogenesis process. Now it is a glucocorticoids is also increase the glycogenesis. Here the another important action of glucocorticoid is that is inhibit the peripheral utilization of a glucose. That means it inhibit the uptake, that is inhibiting of the uptake of a and the utilization of a glucose by the peripheral cells. Usually in these normal cases there is insulin that increase the utilization of glucose by the peripheral cell. So these glucocorticoids act in opposite of that insulin action. So this action is called as a anti-insulin action of the glucocorticoids. That means these glucocorticoids also that decrease the insulin sensitivity. Glucocorticoids how the influence the protein metabolism. Here the glucocorticoids that promote the catabolism of a protein. Catabolism in the sense breakdown of a protein to amino acids. Because of this action that lead to that is decrease the proteins in cellular level, that and increase the plasma level of amino acid. Because why means by releasing of amino acid from the body cells, thereby it may amino acid is enter in the plasma, thereby increase the level of the amino acid in the plasma. Here the increase the protein content in the liver, because the amino acid due to the increased breakdown of the protein that convert as an amino acid. This amino acid is enter in the blood. From the blood it is taken by the hepatic cells, thereby that is increase the amino acid level in the liver is also increased, where these amino acids are used for the protein synthesis. Another important action, that is effect on fat metabolism. Glucocorticoids usually stimulate the lipolysis. Lipolysis in the sense that is the lipid is converted as an glycerides and fatty acid. Here the breakdown of the triglycerides and release the fatty acid from the adipose tissue into the blood vessels. That is glucocorticoids decrease the utilization of glucose and increase the utilization of these fatty acid, thereby generation that lead to the generation of the ketone bodies. So the ketone, it is this large amount of the ketone bodies are formed. So this effect of the glucocorticoids is called as a ketogenic effect. That is a ketogenic effect means instead of the glucose, these glucocorticoids utilize the free fatty acids for the energy production, thereby generation of the ketone bodies. Thereby it is called as this effect is called as. Another effect of glucocorticoids are effect on electrolyte and water metabolism. Here cortisol causes the retention of the sodium, but at the same time there is it promote the excretion of the potassium. Here there is cortisol maintain the extracellular fluid volume, and by adequate that is a glomerular filtration rate. That is action on the glucocorticoids on the electrolyte and water metabolism. Here then now we discuss about the what is the role of glucocorticoids in the stress, in case of the stress and inflammation. The different type of that means during the stress or the trauma or surgery, infection, inflammation, in this case, in this time, that is more glucocorticoids are excreted, because the cortisol has another is a cortisol mobilize the fats and amino acid thereby that utilized for the production of the energy and the generation of the other compounds that is needed for the different tissues of the body. That is the action of the glucocorticoids in the during. Glucocorticoids has an important role in the inflammation also, because these glucocorticoids that inhibit the mediators which are responsible for the inflammation, like prostaglandins, leukotrienes, bradykinins. These type of the chemical mediators may be inhibited by that is the cortisols. Thereby that's why here the cortisol has an important role in the inflammation, that is anti-inflammatory activities. That's why it shows some anti-inflammatory activities here. That is also it increases the speed of the healing process, and it also that is a cortisol reduce the fibroblastic activities and the amount of the fibrous tissues formed. Thereby it is widely used in the case of the rheumatoid arthritis. That is action of the glucocorticoid. Next one is how the cortisol act on that is what is the effect of the cortisol on blood vessels and lymphoid tissues. Here the cortisol that decrease the number of the circulating that is basophils and eosinophils and lymphocytes, but same time it increases the number of RBCs and neutrophils. Then here there is anti-allergic action. These glucocorticoids have an anti-allergic action. Here the high level of the glucocorticoids that inhibit the release of the histamine. Histamine is one of the chemical mediator which is responsible for some allergic or hypersensitivity reaction. But here that is a glucocorticoid that really inhibit the release of the histamines. They are also very useful. That's why it is very this cortisol is very useful in the allergic conditions, and that is because of these anti-allergic properties of glucocorticoids. Here it also produce some delayed hypersensitivity reactions, and they are also relax the bronchial smooth muscles. It's also reduce the inflammatory changes and mucosal edema, and therefore is used in the treatment of the bronchial asthma. Cortisol also shows some some immunosuppressive effect. Here cortisol is usually inhibit the formation of lymphocytes and plasma cells, and therefore the suppress the immunity. Then there is effect on glucocorticoids effect on the CNS. Here the cortisol produce a sense of well-being. There is a deficiency of this cortisol that lead to some, that is irritability, some apprehension. Apprehension means that is some of the fear, something fear feeling, inability to concentrate. That is personality changes. That mean that indicate, that means here cortisol have an importance role in this in the CNS activities. Here especially that is because the cortisol produce the a sense of well-being, and deficiency that lead to the, that is inability to concentrate, and that is irritability, then apprehension, and that is a personality changes. That is indication. The glucocorticoid action, other actions like that is act on the bones, means here the usually glucocorticoids which favor the osteoclastic, that is a breakdown, osteoclastic activity of the bones, but it reduce the osteoblastic activity in bones. This lead to the destruction of bones, and that result in the osteoporosis. Osteoporosis means the bone become more brittle and weak. Then other effect of the glucocorticoids is that is in gastric, it influence the gastric secretion. Glucocorticoids increase the pepsin and hydrochloric secretion in the stomach. Hence, the prolonged use of the glucocorticoids or steroid therapy can cause the peptic ulcer. Regulation of glucocorticoid secretion. The secretion of glucocorticoids is regulated by the hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis and adrenocorticotropic hormone cortisol axis. Here that is adrenal corticotropic hormone that stimulate the secretion of the glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex, that is zona fascicula, from the zona fasciculate cells. Here the hypothalamus, some that is here during the stress or emotion or diurnal rhythm. From the picture you can see there is a hypothalamus that release the cortisol releasing hormone that stimulate the adrenal pituitary gland that release the adrenocorticotropic hormone. These adrenocortical hormones that stimulate the secretion of the glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. That is in the figure you can see there is a green figure that indicates the stimulation, the red line that indicate the inhibitory action, that is feedback action. But when the hypothalamus is released, there is a cortisol releasing hormone, means that is occurs in the maximum during the early morning. That is because the biological clock is present in the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus, is responsible for the diurnal ACTH adrenocorticotropic hormone rhythm. Here that is the secretion is maximum during the early morning hours and maintaining the minimum during the night. There is a different type of stress or stimulus also that is influence the release of these cortisol releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, that is responsible for the final secretion of the glucocorticoids from glucocorticoids, and that produce the various metabolic effect. That is in the figure. You can, from the figure you can easily understand how the glucocorticoid secretion is regulated by these mechanisms. From the adrenal cortical region, that is the zona reticularis, that is the inner zone of cortical region of adrenal gland, which secrete the sex hormones or androgens. In case both females and males, there is a small amount of androgens are secreted by adrenal cortex. The main androgen secreted by this gland is dihydroepiandrosterones, that is DHEA. The small quantity of an estrogen and progesterone is also secreted or released from this adrenal cortex. Here after the there is a puberty, there is a sexual, there is a maturation, the maturation of the sexual organ. That means here the main androgen, the testosterone, is secreted by the testes only. The large amount of the DHEA are secreted during the fetal life, which forms there is precursors for the synthesis of the estrogen by the placenta. Here in female, adrenal androgen play an important role. They promote there is a libido. There is a libido means the sex drive, and are converted into the androgens. Converted into the estrogen by the other body tissues. Here the adrenal androgens are also stimulate the growth of an auxiliary, and there is pubic hair in boys and girls. So that is the action of this sex hormone secreted by the adrenal cortical region, especially the zona reticularis cells. There is disorders of these adrenal glands. That is, the first one is the Cushing Syndrome. It is characterized by the obesity. That means it is occurs due to the hyper secretion of glucocorticoids, particularly cortisols. It may be that is either due to the pituitary origins or the adrenal origins. Here that is sometimes the pituitary origin means that may increase the secretion of the ACTH, that is adrenocorticotropic hormones. That is sometimes the adrenal origin means that is some tumorous condition of the adrenal gland that secretes the more glucocorticoids. So that is the Cushing syndrome. This is also known as a moon phase disease, because it is characterized by the deposition of fats on the face. That means that is resembled with what the depth, or that is small depression present in the or situated in the moon. The same like that is some small deposition, or that is a depression is present on the face and the neck. And also then diabetes is also another important symptom of this Cushing syndrome, and that is hypertension is another symptom of this Cushing syndrome. Then now we have discussed that is hypersecretion, what disease caused. There is a next one is the hyposecretion. Hyposecretion means sometimes the adrenal cortex that is produced glucocorticoid is insufficient. So that's why this condition is called as an Addison disease. Addison disease, it is characterized by the loss of weight, hypotension, pigmentation of the skin, etc. Here Addison disease means that is the failure of the adrenal cortex to secrete the corticosteroids. Here the different type of Addison disease are there, depends upon their cause. The first one is the primary that is Addison disease. Here it is occurs due to the adrenal cortex that is problems. And the secondary Addison disease means failure of the anterior pituitary to secrete the adrenocorticotropic hormones. Then tertiary, that is Addison disease, that is occurs due to the failure of the hypothalamus secrete the cortisol releasing factors. These are about the major disorders of the adrenal cortex. So that is first one is Addison disease, and that is second one is that is hypersecretion that cause the Cushing syndromes, and hyposecretion that cause the Addison disease. These are about the adrenal cortical part secreted hormones and its disorders. Thank you for watching this video.